Hello, good early before afternoon time, and welcome to the next panel discussion, which is within the Finweek dedicated to the Fintech ecosystem, effective partnerships for profit. My name is Katarína Hazuchová, I'm an independent environmental analyst, and I have a pleasure to chair today's panel discussion, which is going to be one of the most important ones. We are going to speak today about how to regulate the segment, the emerging market with the fintech in Slovakia, and whether the regulation is necessary, and we are going to speak in which stages are we now here in Slovakia. In a short time, I will introduce our dear guest speakers. We have very interesting speakers, but first of all, I would like to complete what I started, the introduction of the thesis. We have very talented companies in the Finweek environment and area, which are not only working in the Slovakia but all around the world. And we would like to bring this potential and to strengthen the potential in the Slovakia. And we are going to speak about this, but we would like to listen to the positive examples from the dear guest speakers like from Lithuania and in other countries. But we are coming closer to this later on. Now, here is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speakers. First of all, P.Penzeš, Head of Payment Services and Innovations Section, Nation Bank of Slovakia. Nation Bank of Slovakia is one of our sponsors. We had several participants on the discussion panels. You have a very nice participation in the panel discussions, and you are one of the major players when it comes to the regulatory activities on the emerging market with the fintech.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation and kind introduction.
Thank you for joining us. Now we have Katarína Govina, Executive Director of Supervision Service, National Bank of Lithuania. Katarína.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. The discussion. We are very happy that you joined us because, as I already mentioned, Lithuania is one of our, role models. How to, from which, of course, the examples we may take and we may introduce in our way to opening the market to the fintechs. Then we have Martin Peter, State Advisor, Ministry of Finance of the Slovak Republic. Welcome.
Thank you for the invitation. Hi.
We are very pleased having you on a panel discussion because the Ministry of Finance is one of the partners with the National Bank of Slovakia who is working on the regulation.
Yeah, we also do regulation.
Yeah.
But we will come to this later. Then we have Elena Kozemiakina. It's my pleasure to introduce Pavel Čverha, member of FINAS.
Hello, thank you for introduction.
Hello, Pavel. You will have an essential role in order to introduce what is the concept and how it should be implemented. And the respective speakers will just react on the vision which we are trying to form. And last but not least, we have another speaker, Jana Peliova, Vice Rector for Academic Projects, Economic University Bratislava. Very shortly, the concept, and we should start briefly discussing. So what are the key attributes of successful partnership among fintech, venture capital, banks, financial services, and regulation supervisors? And what are the obstacles? So basically, in this first question, we would like to map up the ecosystem of the financial services vis-à-vis the fintech ecosystem and the regulators, and we should try to articulate the barriers. What is present in order to move us to move Slovakia to be a bit more innovative financial hub in Central Europe, maybe, or maybe in the European Union. But I will come to the question later on. What role do supervisory authorities play in the fintech ecosystem? Will the relationship between fintechs and traditional financial intermediaries change in the future? If yes, how? In which product areas will they cooperate even closer? And where will they go their own way, banks or fintechs? CEN, Slovak Fintechs interesting from investors, the venture capital perspective? Do we have sufficient capital available to develop local fintech environment? If not, why? I read this thesis because of the participants in a virtual space. If they have not read it, they would like to listen the introduction, I believe so. Now let's start with you, dear panelists. Nation Bank of Slovakia, Head of Payment Services and Innovation Sector.
Thank you very much.
Currently, we have ongoing discussion and the consultation when it comes to setting up the regulatory environment for fintech companies and maybe later on for tech companies. But we first have to move one step forward in order to achieve the next step, which is even more complicated, as many experts perceive. Now, the National Bank of Slovakia was very open to create a sandbox. In which stages are we now in setting up the regulatory environment under the auspices of the sandbox? And what are the results of the consultation? If you may share.
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you for the question. I think the issue of creating a fintech positive environment is not a small issue. It takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of players. When we started together with colleagues at the Ministry of Finance of how to create this positive environment, how to improve the environment for fintechs in Slovakia, we had a lot of discussions with private parties, and Martin can develop this idea maybe a bit more because he's one of the main drivers in Slovakia of promoting positive fintech environment here, and I think he's best placed because he's representing Ministry of Finance, which is creating the rules. So one of the elements that are essential is our fintech positive rules in Slovakia, and we as a National Bank of Slovakia are an important partner in this process. We are part of the undertaking they established, the Center for Financial Innovation, and we also share this idea that it's important to take a step forward and help to establish environment that has potential to attract businesses with high added value. And there are other parties that are involved in this process. It's the private sector that needs to make demand, that needs to come to us with its ideas, and they themselves also have to take effort. What we are telling our partners from private sector is that it's important that they make themselves visible, that they themselves create structures supporting fintech environments such as accelerators, incubators. And one of the signals we send to the market is that we are willing to help them and participate in this process in a way that doesn't jeopardize our independence, in a way that is not against that doesn't create conflict of interest. Because we are a public authority, we need to be careful about how much engagement we make with the private sector. One of the steps we took last year was that we established Innovation Hub, and that was the interface, or that is still the interface between us and the private sector. That interface helps us to better understand what are the demands of the enterprises, of startups. They come to us with various ideas, sometimes just to talk. Sometimes they come up with very clear ideas that they want to implement, and they need advice from us on how how to navigate the rules that are there, and we are responsible for implementing those rules. After a year of functioning, the Innovation Hub, this year we thought that there is a need to take maybe another step, and that's exactly what you mentioned. The other part of our role in fintech environment could be creation of sandbox, which is more advanced solution than the Innovation Hub, and sandbox requires more effort and puts more demands on the regulator, but also those who want to be part of the sandbox. The first discussions we had with the market and with the Ministry of Finance showed us that there are different views on the design of the sandbox. Everybody had his or her good idea of how the sandbox should be designed. So that's why we took this step of putting together a discussion paper together with Ministry of Finance, and we published it in July. We collected quite a good number of responses, 20 responses from our market during July and August. Most of them were from unregulated businesses. Many of them came from crypto asset businesses. Those responses proved that there is demand from the market, but the demand is very much from unregulated entities, where we as a supervisory authority, as a public body, don't have any powers. Crypto business is unregulated. So we are now thinking of how to proceed. We can, of course, cooperate with regulated entities. We still need to conduct some individual interviews with regulated entities. We saw in the Innovation Hub that there was some interest from regulated entities, but it didn't show up in a way we expected in the public consultation. So now we are doing our homework. We need to make the decision. It will be made in following weeks, how we will proceed, whether we will establish sandbox or not. Mm-hmm. So this is the current situation with the sandbox.
Okay, what were your expectations? How it should ideally work? We are not living in a perfect world.
That's correct. We hoped to collect more interest from supervised and regulated entities, because we had two banks that were communicated with us through Innovation Hub, and we saw that they have projects that are longer term, and the Innovation Hub is not for long-term projects, it's for short-term consultations. Sandbox is longer-term solution, and they didn't manifest their interest that clearly in the sandbox consultation. We also expected that the market might come up with some alternatives or some good suggestions to what we discussed in the paper. We basically outlined the design of the sandbox, which is pretty much in line with what is in other countries. We took inspiration from Lithuania. We took inspiration from United Kingdom, mm-hmm. and that's what we put in our paper. And we asked questions on different parts of the design, how the market would like this part of the design or that part of the design, and whether they have any good ideas how to improve that design. Mm. We received a lot of encouragement, so that was very positive. And we received some good ideas of how to improve things. We received also a bit surprisingly suggestions that maybe sandbox is something that can come a bit later. That first, it's good to concentrate on more transparency, on making the processes more efficient. This is something that we are also thinking of. So, I wouldn't say that we were, that we were not happy with the outcome of the discussion. It was very helpful. We also asked the businesses to identify barriers they perceive in Slovakia to fintech environment. And they come up with quite a long list of good ideas. Some of them are those that we can tackle. Some of those are for others. But we want to work also with this kind of input. So there is inspiration also for other work. And we want to be transparent again, together with our colleagues with ministry. We'll find a way how to communicate the next steps we want to take. This is the status quo at the moment. I think we are doing a good progress, but sandbox is just a piece of the larger puzzle that is there, that involves public authorities, but there's also private sector that needs to play an important role. And there is also important that we have these types of events where we can discuss. Because
on the discussion side, or how it is going to be continued, we will have a discussion about this. First of all, thank you very much for valuable information. We continue with your counterpart, which is Mr. Martin Peter, State Advisor of Ministry of Finance of the Slovak Republic. You have been the initiator with the National Bank of
Yes.
Slovakia in order to create the system. What are the pitfalls? What is it? Is it about you evaluated as it has so many risks in order to enter to it this time, or what is the situation? What is your view about setting up the regulatory environment directly now in this moment?
I think most important thing is the mindset. So I will go into more general, but I think the mindset is very important, and I don't want to point out, but you can see it in Lithuania, but you can see it also here in Slovakia that last 2 years we opened and we had a very good discussion with colleagues from the National Bank and also with the market participants about what are the barriers and what should be done better. The outcome of this quite intense discussions, we had more like almost up to 50 meetings, like big groups or smaller groups or just bilateral meetings with market participants, but also other authorities discussing what is missing and what we can do. The outcome was the innovation hub that is like point of contact, single point of contact, and some sort of like opening of the regulator towards the market. And I think, and I want to thank colleagues from the National Bank. They are doing a great job, really discussing with the perspective fintechs, but also with banks or financial institutions that are already in the market. They are discussing their business plans, what can they do better. So I think the mindset in Slovakia is changing, is shifting from rather conservative to really open regulation, and I think the open regulation is based on discussion. So you have to know what are the needs of the market. you also need to have also the market participants need to know what are the needs or what are the limitations of the regulation. Yeah, because you have consumer protection, you have prudential regulation that needs to be maintained. So maintaining the market stability. But I think this open dialogue leads to or led to Innovation Hub, and now the quite detailed discussion about the regulatory sandbox, because it was, as we said, the regulatory sandbox is like step 2 with potential more complex, more detailed interaction between the regulator and the fintech, testing their products and services. So I think it's on a good way here in Slovakia. Really. Also, this conference started like 3 years ago. Now it's, I think, the 4th year. We have one or two, even two fintech-oriented or dedicated associations. So the discussion is ongoing. The companies are willing to share their knowledge, and they also see what I'm really proud of. They also see that there is something going on also on the side of the regulator. So we are not just following the rules, but we try to develop the environment in order to help them to. But there are still a lot of things that can be done. We will see, for example, crypto today. Actually, yesterday was the day when the Commission should have come with a digital package. We expect that today there will be regulations or regulatory drafts of also crypto assets regulation. So we will see what. It's a very dynamic environment, and we try to catch up with those who are ahead of us. I don't want to point out to our colleagues, but they are a little bit ahead of us. But we have still we have things to learn, we have things to improve, but I think we are on a good track.
Thank you very much. I will come back to the regulations of the European Commission later on, if the European Union in this field. But you mentioned that you have supervised and you have taken into the notice the examples of the Lithuania, which is the country. You said many countries are much ahead of us. So the Lithuania is one of the countries we can learn from. We can receive some lessons which will be beneficial in some aspect to overcome the obstacles in Slovakia. Now, many companies, fintech companies, which are not having licenses. Basically, no one is having licenses in the e-money, as regards to the e-money license and the cryptocurrency neither. So, is it the process which should have be long-lasting and sustainable and strictly designed in order not to make a mistake? And we may wait for a longer time, or should we speed up the process? And if so, how the Lithuania has overwhelmed this issue in order to be in the front? Basically, we had almost the same level playing field at the beginning, the countries. So could you please share with us, Katarína, what's your point of view on this and experiences? Because our ears are very open to what you are going to say.
Yes. First of all, hello everyone, and thank you for inviting me and to share our experience. It's a pity I cannot be there with you in the audience, but yeah, I will do my best to contribute to the discussion. So speaking about Lithuania, I think that I will go to practical maybe advices for Slovakia and practical examples. So first of all, what we did back in 2016, we looked at the regulations and decided to improve some regulations in order to remove barriers, without which we wouldn't have any foreign company coming to Lithuania. As an example, back in 2016, we didn't have any possibility for remote customer identification. Yes, so it meant that each client should be identified physically. So for companies like Revolut, N26, and many others, which act merely on online basis, they do not meet the client physically. Yes, so it would mean that if they establish a company in Lithuania, they wouldn't be able to operate in all European Union. So our parliament took a very not brave but a very needed step and changed our laws in order to enable companies to remotely identify clients. So it's just one example, but it was necessary in order to create the regulatory framework which would be open for foreign companies. As a result of all of these efforts, we now have more than 100 electronic money and payment institutions registered in Lithuania, licensed in Lithuania, that can operate in all European Union. So first, my first advice would be remove barriers that just doesn't allow a company to open licensed company in Slovak Republic. The second advice and what we did would be for central bank, for regulatory authority and supervisory authority to become partner to financial market participants. As I hear from our speakers, I think that you already adopted this approach, but it helped a lot. For us, as an example, we established a newcomer program, yes, which allows every company, every foreign investor to come to the Bank of Lithuania, to meet with our people, to meet with our licensing team, to meet with some of our other experts, and to look them in the eyes and hear what are their expectations regarding business developments in Lithuania. So it seems it's very soft change that we applied, but it worked a lot. So become partner, be open for consultations, be open for discussions, and it will work really good. And the third advice, if you want to attract companies from other countries, you need to onboard investment promotion agencies for this purpose. So we worked really hand in hand with our investment promotion agency in order for them to understand what we as a country can propose to the companies. What is our as country value proposition for foreign investors? So it helped a lot for them to be like our agents that are going worldwide, meeting companies and presenting Lithuania. And the last maybe advice would be, yes, you already spoke about sandbox. I am not sure whether it is like a perfect pill that will allow innovations flourish in the country, but it helps. Of course, this environment where companies can come, present their new idea, innovative idea, and test its idea in this limited space, it helps to bring dialogue between market and supervisor. Because usually supervisors, they are quite conservative. Yes, if they don't understand, they say no to that. So this sandbox regime and its most beneficial, I would say, advantage is that it allows a supervisor to understand better this innovative product. And then when the supervisor understands, it can manage risks. Yes, it wouldn't say no. It would say, okay, I understand the risk as those and those. You should manage these risks in such way or in another way, but you can operate because we understand. We are not afraid of this business model. So in a nutshell, it would be my advice is probably to Slovak Republic. I think that you are on the right path, and we would be happy to contribute and to help you to develop your environment further.
Hey, Katarína, thank you very much for sharing the success story with us. When it comes to the setting up of the sandbox and the infrastructure, we could discuss it a little bit later on with the comments from the panelists, and I'm sure they will have some. But first of all, I would like to give a space to all the panelists, and we'll come to the academia and to the fintech representative for the last, if you don't mind, because we have here another guest from the foreign country. It's Elena Kozemiakina. I would like to elaborate a little bit on what you suggested to discuss, because when it comes to the concept, you related specifically on some aspects, and one of the aspects was fintech versus venture capital. How are the partnerships developing, and what are the critical elements this year? Very important aspect, which was not mentioned, by the way, in our thesis. And what are the insights into fintech consolidation this year? Could you please try to elaborate on this?
Absolutely. So first of all, this year obviously has changed quite a lot what is happening in the UK and globally with the relationship between the investors and the fintech companies. And by investors, I mean all kind of investors, not necessarily VCs, also the angel investors, the private equities, and everybody else who is looking to invest into fintech companies. The current environment altered these relationships to the point where we can safely assume the investments that are currently has been invested during this year, and I have the data here from KPMG latest report, for example, all went into the latest stages and mainly payment companies. But here we are presented with a problem. What to do for those companies who are in early stages or midlife, if they were planning to raise funding, but given the circumstances, what do they have to do, and how prove the kind of lost interest from the VCs to the early stages fintech companies? So partnerships and collaborations became one of the critical steps that those early companies can adapt. And why is that? Simply because those companies are presented with the situation where they cannot fund themselves by bootstrapping at some point, and especially this year, and partnering with other organizations. And we can pretty much present quite a few user case studies here, can bring them some kind of resolution in this wall when they are facing these serious challenges. So this is this. If we are being more specific, so VC companies are, like I said, they're looking at the latest stages, but they are quite open for the conversations, because if you look at the investments overall in the world, still dominating the interest from the VC companies.
Okay, thank you very much.
I can elaborate a little bit more later on if we have any more additional time. Thank you.
Answering the first question, we are coming to introduce our next panelists and their insights. Jana Peliová, Vice Rector for Academic Projects, Economic University of Bratislava. As per your insight, as a quasi-independent entity, Usually the discussions in think tanks and in the academia are going a little bit more on the beyond what is happening in this process. And you are the ones who are usually giving advice to the institutions. You are respected university in Bratislava. What is your insight on the situation? How the consultation should be opened? How should it proceed? Is it too early to speak about the fintechs and the opening the market a little bit more than what is being discussed? Are the risks and the concerns relevant? And what would you suggest to the Ministry of Finance, very informally now during the discussion, nothing like a framework or the strategy, and to the National Bank of Slovakia, how to proceed, how to move on?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think that your question was quite huge. If I could answer your question, then we probably would not sit here in this studio and discuss, but I will try to elaborate a bit, at least on some parts.
You select which you feel the most comfortable with.
Thank you very much.
Academicians, they would speak about another at least 3 hours, because you
definitely
have a lot
even
of
more, 3 days.
We would like to to share at least some of the knowledge.
I will try to narrow it down to some few sentences. So thank you very much at the very beginning for invitation myself to this discussion, because I truly believe that fintech environment would not be complete without academia being a part of it. And I'm very happy, and I think it is quite symbolic that Innovation Hub was launched at the meeting which took place at the University of Economics. So we may say that we are somehow connected from the very beginning. But why am I discussing now with you? It's because there is a strong need, I think, to use academia as a source of knowledge. And we've heard a lot of positives and negatives during these last days' discussions. We've heard about challenges we have to solve, and we also heard a lot about risks. And I am representing a project which was supported by European Commission, which is entitled Fintech. And we are trying to tackle at least some risks, because risks connected with fintechs are numerous, but it should not stop us from supporting and starting discussion and changing the world. So what we are trying to do is to help regulators to close the gap between fin and tech, and to improve the skills, the soft skills of those physical people who will later on deal with licensing and doing the regulation, to help them to share the ideas which are now going on in academia, the newest research outcomes. We are trying to connect all regulators in 28 countries of European Union, and also to present research outcomes from 24 universities which are involved. So it's not. So I don't think I am not entitled to give any advice to you guys, because I think that you are much more better in those specifics areas you are dealing with. But like, my suggestion would be to use the talent hidden in academia, and maybe to create links which will help create and improve sandboxes. Like, the aim of our project is also to create a fintech platform where regulators, fintechs, international institutions could come. We are collecting case studies with data, and we provide R code for testing our models in 3 areas. The first one is big data, where we do focus on peer-to-peer lending. So there are some market risk measures which could be tested, which we propose and which could be tested later on. Then there is artificial intelligence part where we do focus on robo-advisory, and then there is the last one is blockchain where we do focus on cryptocurrencies. So this is a small step where we do truly believe that we can help both regulators and market to come together, to play, to use the data, to test, to open the ideas. I am very happy that we also have Bank of Lithuania to be a partner in our big project, and we are very grateful for National Bank of Slovakia for the space and capacity they are giving us, because all the events we prepared were quite well accepted from those sides, and I hope that those we will create or propose in the future will also be in participation with even more stakeholders from the environment. So I am academician. I was quite long, but sorry for that.
Thank you very much.
Never
Reaction
happen.
just in a moment. But first of all, let's finish this round because we have the last speaker, and it was left for the last moment on a purpose because it's Pavel Čverha, member of FINAS. The FINAS is trying to bridge the gap between the technology, finance, and trying to help to create the infrastructure of various stakeholders, relevant stakeholders, which should be and are already part to some extent of the ecosystem. Now, the FINAS has proposed several let's say concepts how to deal with also the sandbox and how to authorize the clients and all the infrastructure, and you are also concerned about the public consultation and how the process is going to continue. So could you, Pavel, try to estimate what is the situation from your point of view, and what could be possible obstacles, and how could you elaborate on to move a little bit forward here? Again, the same task.
Okay. I'd like to speak a bit from business perspective, and to say a few words regarding to today's survey and analysis. And personally, I'm looking forward to get your results from your project, and I will be eager to get know how will look these results. I think that these days we cannot speak about fintech sector like in the way that, and I got a bit confused that after the survey, you will analyze it, maybe we will speak about it, and then we decide to have or not to have, for example, sandbox. Our opinion is that in this environment, in Europe or worldwide, it is not question to have it or not have it, but only to speak which shape to give it to it, yeah? Because I think that regulatory sandbox is the must-have initiative which public authorities should have done, yeah? Because I think this fintech sector is not something new for us, for economy. Many other countries are before us, and I think if we want to create environment for our Slovak investors here in Slovakia, we should start with these activities as soon as possible. I understand that there are many questions relating to risk management and risk policies, but I think that it is not good for all. It is not good for all of us that sometimes I get information from our members that they are, okay, I use word compel, yeah, compel to start their activities abroad, not here in Slovakia. Yesterday, I had discussions with some of our members and participants, and they told me that they have many obstacles here in Slovakia in starting their fintech businesses. Therefore, they decided to start in Austria, Poland, and Lithuania. Yeah. Therefore, on the other hand, therefore, we really warmly welcome the initiative that, relating to regulatory sandbox. I think that it is very good first step to start our participation here in this European or worldwide competition.
In order to build the infrastructure and the whole model. Yeah. This is very interesting, by the way, because most of the products of the fintech companies are crossing the national borders. We all remember the times when PayPal started and with additional financial services, overcoming banks, which I already mentioned in the previous panel. And most of the countries reacted, the participants, of the customers reacted to these services. So the demand should be very clear. The thing is, why not to bring the potential, or why not, I don't want to say a headquarter, the know-how in Slovakia, but why not to give an opportunity to bring the value where it comes from? Why to provide services in another countries and allow our customers from Slovakia to come again to another country in order to buy, because there are also an additional fees, as I believe, connected to this, and it is not service as it is if it was generated from the domestic country. If I'm mistaken, please correct me.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I hope that the initiative of National Bank and Ministry of Finance to create a regulatory sandbox will help to our members, to the companies, not only to our members, because our goal is to create a really competitive environment here in Slovakia for all participants. And I think, for example, the very one particular obstacle is Target 2 system, and how for payment institutions and fintech companies which want to participate in payment services is question how to be a participant in this Target 2 system. Is there any possibility to be direct member of Target 2 system? Not. How to make it more faster? Yeah. How to, because we were speaking here that financial sector is conservative sector. Yeah. Yeah, and there is still some hesitation to be very innovative, yeah, and I think that we should improve cooperation between banks and these fintech companies, and I think that there is a role for you regulators, not to push them there, but really maybe to clarify them that everybody can get some profit from better innovative environment. Yeah. That is how we see it. Yeah.
Definitely, I completely agree with you. Now, I would like to add something which we already started to discuss. Even if, even of course, just one comment. Even if we have perfectly integrated market at the level of the European Union, improving the efficiency, the speed of the transaction and financial services, it will take a time. I mean, we have to react now. Of course, two gentlemen, of course, I bear in mind that you wanted to answer as well.
Yeah.
React.
Yeah, so thank you for putting the ball to my side, because we had very nice discussions before, but now I hear something that I need to react to. We are very glad that Finas is bringing together businesses and discussing the barriers. It would be very beneficial if you come to us and discuss also with us what you heard from your colleagues, from your members, and from businesses that you discussed with. So please, our ears are open. You mentioned access to payment system. Access to payment system is something that was flagged to us a couple of times by businesses. This is not my responsibility, but we explained to everyone who came to us what is the situation. Unfortunately, the decision has been made a long time ago that our retail payment system is going to retire, and the target will be the one that will serve also for retail sector, and the barrier for accessing the payment system is in the Settlement and Finality Directive, which is going to be amended soon, and Martin may react maybe to that. The other complaint we heard from the market is the length of licensing procedure. And this is something that we want to tackle, this is something that we want to take to our heart, and our response to that is that we want to be more transparent, that we want to communicate that we also in National Bank of Slovakia are open to discussion for those who are seeking the license before they apply for the license. We have numerous interactions with businesses who are in more advanced stage and who have clear ideas and understand that they need license, so they come to us, we explain them all the details. We do not call it newcomers program, but still we are open to discussions even prior to submitting a license. We want to promote this more visibly. We want to communicate more clearly what are the requirements. And now, I think what is also important, creating fintech positive environment is, to me, always a joint effort. Like I said at the beginning, we need also private sector to make its contribution, and the contribution that I see, and maybe Katarína can confirm, it's important to have mature advisory and legal practices in the country to attract investors from abroad and businesses from abroad, because those coming to us and asking for license first need to consult lawyers, because simply the licensing process it's not that easy, and it's always good first to go to a lawyer, and we would expect that legal professionals in our country also come back together somehow and then build capacity and make themselves visible, that they are ready to provide advice to payment institutions, e-money institutions coming to Slovakia. So that's why I think it's important that you created association and that you are joining your efforts, but perhaps you also should be more visible.
I just wanted to add to what Katarína said about the importance, and also Pavel said about the importance of sandbox. I think it's very, I agree that it is very important. I think what is What we need to now decide on, and this is what the discussion currently will be about, is the form of sandbox. Because if you look through the globe or in the European Union, there are different forms of sandboxes. Some member states even have what we call the innovation hub, and they call it sandbox, but it's not. So it's not. It's a bit blurred. The borders of what is sandbox and what is innovation hub is not clear. This is what we are now discussing. What is this? What should be the form? If it will be only aimed at financial institutions with license, some sort of already operating licenses, or it will be open also for non-licensed subjects. I think it's very important to have a good discussion and also to have a good decision on this. It may be like gradual process. We will start with more probably or possibly like licensed companies, and then we can continue. So this is the discussion now. I think it's very important. I will come to what Elena said, that the funding changed, but I think what we see, because we have at the Ministry of Finance Center for Financial Innovation. It's a platform that serves for discussion with all the other state authorities, but also with the market. What we hear from market is that, okay, we are in the middle of a crisis, but for fintech and technological companies and also financial technology companies, it's very good opportunity to come with the ideas and to spread their ideas, and also to attract investors. Because now I think we somehow also this conference, it's via video, so the technology is more and more embedded in everyday life, and people will be and are more open to technological, like innovative solutions. Of course, there is a problem with funding. I think that's very important part of the overall environment, and we are now looking into possibilities how to solve it or improve the situation here in Slovakia, to allow also for starting companies to have some sort of funding. So not just those companies that are ready to market, but also those who are developing an idea. And I will also go back to academia, to Mrs. Peliova, and I want to thank Economics University here in Bratislava, because it's not only using the already knowledge, the knowledge you already have, but it's very important for us also to allow for students to get the knowledge about fintech, what's going on in the world, because the students will be startups, those who will start businesses in a couple of years. And it's like, I think it's third year we have Fintech seminar, or it's half a year seminar, very intense about fintechs, and I think it's very, very popular. It became very popular in recent years. So I think this is also very important on the academia, also to provide for fintech and innovative technologies to be taught on the universities, and for the students to get the knowledge on what's going on, in order for them to be the next wave of startups and fintech companies. So thank you once again. As I said, third year and very successful process and program. And back to what Pavel said. I don't know if you were in the Innovation Hub, your friends, but maybe, Peter, we have to make a better marketing for Innovation Hub, for Center for Financial Innovation, because a lot of problems we hear from the market is that people they know about the barriers, but they do not know that they can come to the national bank or they can come to the Ministry of Finance and they can actually discuss it there. So also to participants, if you have any barriers, because this is the aim of Ministry and also the National Bank to try to remove barriers of entry and barriers for business. So if you have something, or we are open, or you are welcome to come to us and discuss with us the barriers, and we will see what we can do.
Fantastic. We are building a knowledge society, and the management, the knowledge management is one of the critical tasks to be accomplished properly. But also the academia, when they are doing rigorous research, they need to see exact cases, not only the examples from other countries, but also the ideas really tested in a real environment. That's why the sandbox was meant to be to test the solutions as an experiment, to bring the value, because otherwise it wouldn't make a sense. Coming only to the level of the quantity of the companies, it has some, of course, results, measurable results, but when we are speaking about the quality, to bring the value to the market, the sandbox was meant to be about this. Now, I would like to ask you, I don't know whether I have the correct information, but the European Commission, as per I heard about, is until the year 2022, should make accessing of the fintech companies to the target as a binding, as a binding to all the European countries. And we are speaking about 2 years' time. The European Commission, we have a culture, everybody's speaking, they are pushing us into the Green Deal, they are pushing us into the new financial period and making it at the project level. But what if we are, again, what if this is the correct information? I'm not really, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but what we really have only 2 years' time. Are we really prepared, or shall we do it step by step and to prepare the infrastructure step by step, or should we make a faster transition to?
So in terms of rules, it's in the hands of European Commission. In terms of implementation, it's mostly in the hands of European Central Bank, because the European Central Bank is the key master to target. So currently it's mostly the banks that can access the payment system target. After the Commission amends relevant directive, it's most probably going to be also payment institutions, e-money institutions that are demanding very much to have access. And in certain countries, like in Lithuania, they find a solution. So it's pretty much about these two players, Commission and European Central Bank.
Yeah, the plan is, as you said, so 2022 as the deadline for, and I think Commission is pretty obvious in its need or demand for member states, but also for the financial market, to really be open also to fintechs and to not just banks, but also other payment institutions and e-money institutions. So I think the process is ongoing. There are projects already on the table, and I think it's good to be pushed. And so sometimes, when you are slower, it's good if it's not downstairs, but it's it's pushed forward. It's good when you have someone you can discuss and who pushes you in the right direction. So.
Okay. Any other reaction?
What we are afraid of in relation to new directive, which is in the process, is that after adoption of it, there will be no new race between companies and fintech companies. That is the same race which we have now, yeah? But only new companies or companies from countries which doesn't have so developed infrastructure can start their own race. And from business point of view, that means that Slovakia could miss the train because the race is running now. Yeah. Therefore, on the one hand, we really appreciate the discussion about sandbox, and as I told you, I think it's a must-have. And on the other hand, we cannot lose a lot of time because time is running, and when new directive will be adopted, I think it will be. If we start our participation after adoption, I think that it will be too late for our companies.
Slovakia is part of Target 2 and also part of this project. National Bank has the project with the ECB, so it will be like this. Yeah, we will be part of the project. And what I want to say. I understand this discussion that is ongoing on the direct participation in the Target 2, but I do not see it. It can be better, yeah. So there should be or could be a direct access, but I do not see this as the showstopper because we have fintech companies here in Slovakia that they have the payment system ongoing, they're working via a bank. I know that it's not the ideal solution, but it works, and so it's not a showstopper that okay, without this I cannot do business here in Slovakia. Situation is as it is. We know about it. We try to change it. The deadline I think for this is 2022, and since then the situation will be different with the direct access, but before then you can still do business here. There are a couple of really open-minded banks, banking institutions here in Slovakia that are willing to cooperate. I know it's not the direct access, but you can do business here, so it's not like the direct showstopper that will stop any fintech activities on this field.
I completely agree with you that it is not 100% showstopper, but on the other side, you are making business with your counterpart, which is not only your counterpart, which is your competitor, and it is in a bit in a role, I would say, a film director, yeah. That he is director of your. It has a bank always in nowadays situation. Banks have big influence on your business, on fintech business.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
And when it comes to banking segment, the fintech companies provide an added value in terms of financial and technological services to the banks. We've been discussing that. First of all, banks are in a very regulated environment. Secondly, innovation in a very regulated environment will not perish in a way maybe we would wish so if we don't diversify the opportunities, how to reach the needs of the different customers, which we are not complying at all now in a certain audiences, but not to all. And we should, and the idea of the innovation is to bring more efficient, more cheaper, and dealt to the needs of the customers, of different customers, even the disadvantaged ones who have who are under the strict regulation of the banks. They cannot apply for the credits or whatever, and this is not going to be the development probably when we are always referring to the banks. As we've been discussing in the previous panel, even the banks should be maybe more specialized when it comes to the needs of the customers and to find their niches. It has been the overview or the idea of the expert, not mine as a moderator, but it was the outcome of the discussion. So again, my question is how to set up a more open environment to all of the panelists, even our guest speakers from Lithuania, from Elena, Fintech Ford Funds. What is your opinion?
Provide a little bit of the insight in terms of how the fintech companies, what strategy they can adapt in order to get on the ladder, shall we say, with the banking. I'm advocating here in the UK with my company. What I'm trying to do is to help the smaller, younger fintech companies by advising them to start with partnering with the smaller clients. That gives the room for maneuvering the development of the company in the initial stages, because when you're partnering with a smaller client, you essentially marrying into the relationship with this client, and you are answering possible needs just to maintain this relationship. But at the same time, you are acquiring a client and you're building up the client base, and you can see from the inside the unique features that can help you to improve your product. And when I say fintech, I just want to make sure that there's no confusion here. Fintech is massive. It's not just digital banks, and it confuses a lot of audience when I speak usually. When I mean fintech, I mean all ecosystems. As you know, it could be various types of innovations. But one feature which is quite unique and interesting at the moment is fintechs are becoming that kind of avenue that everybody is looking at because of the environment at the moment. And as it was stated previously before me, everything that is digital becoming highly interesting, and basically this is the moment to seize it. Due to the situation we are at, you have to be bold and you have to be loud and start small and grow up your way, because with the bank it will take 12 to 18 months to establish anything at all. So maybe rather than wait for a big fish to come along, maybe start with a small one, I think.
Okay, any reactions from the panelists to the advice from the UK success story?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any reaction?
Maybe I would say that it's important, and we see it here in Slovakia. We have banks-dominated financial market. The banks we have here, 11 banks, are very dominant players, and everything else is very small compared to them. But we see that there are certain banks that are proactive, that are front runners, and that they are teaming up with fintechs, and that they are supporting fintechs. And we perceive this as something that is a good development, and we want to encourage it. We also want to monitor the whole banking sector and also the whole regulated entities in Slovakia, and find out what is their approach and what is their appetite in the innovation. We are now putting together a survey that is going to be published very soon on our website, and this is survey exactly for regulated entities to give us indication of what is their thinking in the innovation field, how they are moving in this direction. And I think for sure we'll publish a report on the basis of this survey, and then make it transparent and understandable to everybody what is the situation in our market, in the big players, in those that are already established on the market, where are they moving. So I can confirm that banks are important part of the equation. Some of them are more friendly to fintechs. Some of them are seeing them more as maybe competition, or some don't care at all. But we want to make sure that we understand also to this segment, and then we have individual dialogues with those that are front runners.
Yeah, maybe I can elaborate a bit on that side. So if you are trying to build a long-term working solution, all parts of ecosystem matters. So from fintech side, what should they do, and what they are already doing, as I understand in Slovak Republic. So it is ability to speak in one voice, yes, and you can done it through association. So what we done in Lithuania, we encouraged our fintech companies to build association. And it would allow them to speak in one voice, rather, to be really small and nobody hears them. So now we have two strong fintech associations that are able to raise their voice when it is needed. So fintechs, in order to build this ecosystem, they must speak in united voice. From banks' side, it is important as they are necessary infrastructure providers. Yes, they have this payments rails that fintech are using. So for banks, it is important to be open for fintechs. Again, in Lithuania, we have accelerators that are run by our biggest banks. So they allow fintechs to come to this accelerator to use some banking data in order to build products. So it is like a private sandbox that is working quite well, if I may say that. So from government side and regulator side, it is important to be sometimes advocating, even for fintechs or innovations. Again, an example, fintechs are struggling to open bank account, yes, commercial bank account. So sometimes regulator needs to intervene and help them in order to be able to speak with banks in the same level. Because when small company comes to bank, a huge bank, it is the positions are really unequal. So regulators must make sure that competition is working well in the market. So again, to sum up, for ecosystem to function well, it is important that every party makes its contribution, necessary contribution. And one more important dimension, we already touched that it is money. Or VC capital, yes, which is necessary in order for companies to grow further. Because at some point, this fintech, small fintech solution providers or fintech companies, they need money in order to scale their business in much wider scale. So here, again, VCs operating in the country, or even government, some funds need to be allocated in order to help fintechs grow.
Katarína, if some of the speakers would like to react, I mean, you have a space. If not, I would like to come back to let's say, P.Penzeš, what you mentioned about the companies. I'm coming back to the licensing of the companies, which is the topic we opened a little bit more earlier. But you mentioned several points, and if I understood it well, you said I perceive it as there is a kind of the mistrust to provide the license to the company, which you are not fully aware of what is the business case, how transparent is the company, maybe what is the credit portfolio, risk balance, the balance sheets, and so on and so forth. What kind of information do you need? Because we have the players in the fintech area who are working as an intermediaries in risk and asset management. We had one speaker on the previous panel, so we could set up the process also for the fintech companies to work in a similar way. But what you need, in which way they should work to be more trustful for you?
Well, the licensing is not something that is subjective. It's very objective. The criteria are there in the law, in the Act on Payment Services, in the guidelines of European Banking Authority, in the decrees. It's all transparent. It's all published on our website, and it's all easy to find. If someone has doubt, they can come to us, and they often come to us. We navigate them through those rules. We explain to them exactly what is expected from them. What we see, of course, we can always be better. We can always be more transparent. We can always put more information or better structured information on our website. It is something that we are going to do, definitely, very soon. What we see as an opportunity on the side of applicants is that they should probably get acquainted more with those rules that are there. We often see that they are not prepared. They are prepared maybe from the IT perspective, that they have solution that works in the computer, but they underestimate a bit the legal side of the process. So it's always at a certain stage of development good to come to legal professionals who are experienced in the area of either payment services or I don't know, asset management or different other financial sectors, and get advice from them on how to proceed with the legal side of the thing. Of course, we do as much as we can, but our capacities are limited, and we cannot do something that is there for private sector, for private advisors to do. So we do not have these ambitions to somehow interfere with their work. So on our side, we want to improve. We want to be better, more transparent, for sure. I think we are doing good progress in that area. We have never refused to meet with someone who asked for a meeting to discuss license or the procedure that is related to that. But yeah, maybe, as I said, we want to be more transparent on that. So that's about licensing. And
very shortly, I will come back to what Yekaterina said. That also in Slovakia there are some like private solutions or initiatives helping fintechs. Maybe it's a closing remark from my side, but what I want to say, like the public authorities, National Bank, speaking for the ministry, we are open for discussion. We are open really for 2 years. We try to really improve the situation and environment here. And what I see as the opportunity here in Slovakia is also to come with more like private driven initiatives, because sandbox is not just something that National Bank, the regulator, needs to do. It's also up to companies to create sandbox or accelerator or incubator, you name it. It doesn't matter, but the structure can really help, and it's really open. And I see the open opportunity for either your association or other associations or other companies here to come with a concept of accelerator that will be inclusive, so it will allow for open. It will be open for companies to come to test their products and services, and it will also help us because it will be more prepared. It will be more ready to request the license and ready for market. So we are open to discuss and to any idea ideas from your side about barriers and what to do better, and we see opportunities for also private sector to come with the ideas that can solve some problems we mentioned here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, of course.
Very short. So I will just continue in this positive line. I mean, proposing open ears and hands and minds. So I think I will somehow bind on what we said earlier, that it is also good to reach for someone who has some piece of knowledge. Maybe in this case, academia could also help, because as you mentioned before, so it's very complex question. It's not just tech, it's not just fin, it's also legal. So I think it's very good to like at the very beginning stage to reach out to academia, to contact us as well. We as researchers, we do have some maybe knowledge somehow structured we can provide, but we can also do a tailor-made kind of research based on publicly accessible data. Now European Union with open science is really making a big effort, so we can kind of not assist, but test, challenge the ideas, and it is very interesting for us, because we, as academicians, we do. We are happy. We are here to build solutions which are later applicable in a business world. So we have the luxury of having the possibility to test, to think, to try, to be unsuccessful, then to try and test again, in building some, let's say, theoretical solutions which then we can offer and maybe test and then apply. So it's both for regulators, what we are doing now, that we are offering some models to test the risks, but it is also for fintechs, because they can either pre-test or question the models that are used now, and then we can test them, improve them, and offer them to regulators. So I mean, in this case, really, academia can help both sides, let's say, of the discussion.
Dear speakers, unfortunately, we are coming to the conclusion and to the end of our valuable panel discussion, one of the most important ones for Finweek, definitely, and for the building the infrastructure of the fintech in Slovakia. I'm very grateful that we were able to make it in an open discussion, and I believe that the discussion is going to not be shut up in a near future, and and maybe use also the advice of Katarína from Lithuania to speak in one voice from the association, which we have a participant here on the panel. So if you may come and sit down and to find a common concept how to maybe better propose this concept to our regulatory authorities and to our institutions, state institutions, that would be fantastic to continue with the discussion. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear guests. Thank you for the contributions. Okay, have a nice day.